Welcome back to Living Local. After a fulfilling and exciting 26-year career with the Walt Disney Company, our next guest and his wife made the decision to set out on a new adventure and start their own consulting and speaking business, which has led to a successful book, blog, and podcast. And here to tell us all about it is Mr. Dan Cockerell. Dan, how are you, sir?
Hey, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well, man. Thanks so much for being here. I'm a big fan of yours. So your last position with the Walt Disney Company was the Vice President of the Magic Kingdom at Walt Disney World. Now, what gave you the courage to leave that job and pursue something of your own?
Wow, great question. You know, I spent 26 years with Disney in 19 different jobs, and we have 3 kids, and our last son was about to go off to college back in 2017, and I was good. My wife, Valerie, you know, she'd worked for Disney for many years and was ready to go on an adventure. And she said, you know, what are we doing next here? I said, look, I work at Disney. You either retire or die here. You don't leave. And she said, no, there's a big world out there. We got a lot to go see. And I thought she was crazy. And it took her a year. It took her a year to wear me down. And finally, she said, look, do you want to go try this? I said, look, what if this doesn't work out? You know, what if no one wants to hear what I have to say? She said, you can always go get another job. So I said, look, if you're cool with this, I'm cool. Let's go for it. And we took off from there.
Yeah, and that spawned a number of things, but I want to talk first about the podcast, Come Rain or Shine. I love your content and your guest list, and I imagine you learn as much, you know, as your listeners do.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, when you become an entrepreneur, you need to create awareness, and podcasting is a great way to do that. Mm-hmm. And so at the beginning, it was really about me being interviewed by my partner, Jody Mayberry, and we talked about leadership and management, my experiences. And after a year, I said, look, I'm ready to go talk to other people. I want to learn more here. Yeah. And so we started off with leadership and management, and now I've sort of changed my approach to I just like talk to interesting people. Yeah. So there is no prerequisite to be on the show. It's, do you have an interesting story and something people can maybe get a nugget to learn from? And it's been a lot of fun. It is. I'm used to interacting with lots of people, and it's a great way to make contacts and let people tell their stories.
Yeah, and I have your book, How's the Culture in Your Kingdom? It's right here. And it's incredible, and there's so much to learn. But one of the most valuable lessons is taking the time to experience your product and service from your guest's perspective and viewpoint. And talk to us a little bit about why that's so important.
Yeah, you know, it's the most important things in life just seem to be very simple concepts. Yeah. Because they're so simple, we forget about them. And in big companies, especially big corporations, you know, a lot of the leadership, it's easy to forget why you're there. It's easy to forget who you're doing this for. And so at Disney, I was just raised in a culture of you need to get out and see what your guest is experiencing. It's called empathy, putting yourself in your customer's shoes, put yourself in your employee's shoes, and take an opportunity to do that. You don't have to do it all the time, but I can tell you, when I was working at Magic Kingdom, the vice president of the Magic Kingdom does not wait in line for attractions. I can tell you that. So I finally started visiting the park as a guest, and boy, it was a whole nother point of view. And I started to realize we really got to make this experience better. You know, carrying kids through the line, why can't we get strollers into the queue line? Why can't we let guests bring their drinks into the theaters? All the policies that we had made up, you don't question those unless they impact you personally. And you start to become much more understanding, and you make much better business decisions.
Yeah, my wife and I run a small little theater here in our area, and one of the things that we do is kind of attend the show as an audience member just to see what their experience is like, because it's easy to kind of get lost in, you know, the production aspect of it. So that's something I've learned from you. Another lesson you teach is the importance of accepting and embracing change. Obviously, you've taken a big leap. And let's talk about that and how you applied that to your own life, because I imagine at first that seemed kind of frightening, right?
Yeah, well, you know, when I tell audiences when I speak, I'm not particularly smart, and I don't have any kind of special skills. I'm good with people. So I learned early in my life, I better go get experiences to bring value to myself. So I always had an open mind. I always realized that, and I've kind of come to the conclusion, you create your own luck. When you're open to change, you're open to interacting with those around you, you're willing to say yes, you're curious. You open so many doors that you wouldn't have opened otherwise. And I know a lot of people walk around and say, well, I never get chances. I never get opportunities. Well, you don't know where the opportunities are. So if you multiply the amount of opportunities you have, you'll just put yourself in a much better place, whether it's reading a book, whether it's changing your career path, whether it's traveling, learning a new language, reading, educating yourself, talking to people you've never talked to before. All these things are going to create a wider a vision for you, and you'll have a lot more doors to go through.
Yeah, that's great advice. And what other advice could you give an entrepreneur that's about to make that jump as well?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit art and it's a little bit science. The science is you can't just say, I'm just going to drop everything in my life and go for it. You got to be thoughtful about it. And, Valerie and I leaving our corporate careers and running our own business, that was a calculated risk. We were on the back end of raising kids and paying college tuition. We had done pretty good job saving money. So the risk level was much lower than it would have been 5 or 10 years earlier. And then I think the second thing you got to get used to not being sure about the future. I know that's the case in life, but boy, when you become an entrepreneur, you don't always even know what's going on next month. And that can become a little stressful. So you got to learn how to accept that and that be part of and have faith that things are going to work out. You're going to have some good times and some rough times, just like everything else in life. But take some calculated risks, do your homework, and then let go of trying to be in control of everything. And I think you'll be in a great spot.
Well, Dan, thank you so much. Everyone get the book. It's fantastic. I highly recommend it. Dan, thanks so much for your time today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Tristan. Take care.
Thanks, man. To book Dan for your next event, to order his book, listen to his podcast, and discover all the services he offers, visit dancockerell.com. We'll have all those details posted at ourquadcities.com. More Living Local continues after the break. Stay with us.